Hi everyone, thank you very much for joining me. Polina here, talking to you about the month of August 2020. We are now at the end of July, so I'm just talking about the main trends for this particular time. I've got two charts in front of me. I've got one for the beginning and one for the end of August, so I can give you a general overview for the common trends that we're going to have during this time. If you would like to know more about your chart by the sun, the moon, ascendant, and stellium, please check out my Patreon channel and links below. And there should be plenty of information there for you. Also, I will write a report for special features for the month of August, and that is also going to be on Patreon. So thank you very much for joining me. Very grateful to see you today. Let's talk. Okay, so it is a very, very nice time to be in love. It is a very, very nice time to open your heart. We are in the sign of the heart, which is Leo. We have a very, very wonderful, beautiful, abundant month for the people that can just be safe and sturdy as they are and have appreciation and grace for whatever and whoever they have in their lives. So, this is not really the type of time to work too hard to go forward, though there are some people with fresh minds and fresh starts. It feels to me that there is a lot of controversy about what one can do with their lives. I believe there is a lot of stories coming up about governments and certain people in power and control. So there's going to be always lower dimensional realities available for those people that enjoy a crisis. If you like yourself a crisis, and that is where your love goes, and that's where you feel the most loved and loving, then crisis is surely available for you. If you do not want to experience energy of crisis, or if you would like your heart to speak now and not your mind, then there are available situations and dimensions there for you as well. So, whoever you believe you are, and however you experience and express the most love and joy, you will be given. So, this is something that we have to understand about us as a species, that there is no right or wrong. And sometimes people just enjoy a feeling of crisis, and they like their critical thinking mind and their voice more than the actual current now. So, this is beyond ego itself. This is about pleasure and the sharing of love vibration. And as we all know, everything is love, and all is one. So, this is one of those things that sometimes we as healers or we as practitioners forget, and we have to forgive also the fact that there are some people that enjoy the vortex of despair. There are some people that share love unkindly. And those of us that are ready to just walk out of that now and have already seen, maybe for a long time coming, that there are these vortexes that are upon us or within us, even, and around us, that are just not serving us. And we can tell that there are very unkind ways of being in this world, and unkind ways in which people share kindness seemingly, or share harm, share responsibility, give each other things to do and such. If there is any bullying, and bullying sometimes is actually a very exceptionally weird way to share love, then we have to understand that those things are not for us any longer. Maybe those are not the vortexes in which we experience desire or feeling or joy. And this is one of those very, very tricky things to understand, as some of us are still, in a way, hurting ourselves through love, or healing ourselves through despair. So there is something that we have to understand, that a lot of us are choosing bittersweet realities. So, as we go to the next dimension of Earth, as we are walking towards the next level of ascension and common ground, we've got to realize now that it is not all right to argue with this. There is going to be a person around you that just loves to heal through tears. There's going to have to be people like that still around. And it is not something that we really have to work out for others. You know, we don't need to rock the boat. But for those people that are awakening now, there is a childish question of like, why? Like, why? And that is something that we have to come to terms with, because maybe it sounds like a childish question. As you are looking after your friend who's in despair, or your partner, or somebody else in your life, you might just naturally have this childish feeling come over you, as if the story does not belong and the story is not really the point. And there's just this question of like, why are we doing this? Like, why are we going through this? For some of us, these questions have already been coming for a long time, and also towards ourselves. Like, why do I go through this cycle? Why am I going through this fear? Why am I this person? Why am I in this role? Especially roles, stories of disempowerment continuing, and a lot of them I believe have run dry. So I believe in terms of empathy and the human share and human communication, there is no more of certain stories in our lives. But yet that feeling, or that feeling of gratification, I suppose, exists still. So for some people, it is a gratifying feeling to cry. It's good to feel pain, it's good to feel despair or to feel righteous, and that is the feeling that is pushing them to that next phase, you know. And rather than changing their story, sometimes people will just enjoy the invocation of the same pattern just to feel that particular sense of self. And for some people, that is actually very, very enigmatic and unique to feel a certain thing to such a great degree that nothing else matters. So, for example, martyrdom or sadness, despair, disappointment, judgment. Feeling good about themselves that they're not like the other person, feeling good about themselves being a victim, feeling sometimes good about themselves undercharging or giving themselves less, or just not knowing what to do. So, all of these different feelings and fears have got to be understood now and put into sequence. What are you getting out of a situation? Oh, but he said this, but she said that, and then we had this and this happened. No, no, no. What are you getting out? What is the feeling? What is the character that makes you feel a certain thing? And sometimes it is more about that than the situation itself. So I believe that there are plenty of people that are ready to distill their story down to a very, very specific need or fear or a specific irony. As universal mind, I believe, is giving us a lot of things to think about and do, maybe unconsciously or under the radar, and many, many, many of these are ironic during this month. So happy, 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 sad, sad, sad. There is happiness and sadness and happiness. There are many things that you feel you need to do when you only really needed to do that one thing. So for the conscious person, for the clear conscious person, it is very now beautiful to really pick the husk from the grain and to reveal to oneself and many other people through your own experience, perhaps, that very, very simple thing, or that very simple fact, that very simple formula that seems to be beneath us. It seems to be too ordinary and too simple. So, why this happens sometimes, like I cannot believe. Sometimes this happens as a very, very freaky thing. The answer is so plain. The best way forward is so beautifully plain and simple that sometimes it feels beneath us. So here we are working with the ego and trying to understand why sometimes we prefer complication, complexity, fear, envy, all these different emotions, all these very, very, I suppose, crazy things can come to the surface, and all these things that we take personally during this month because the answer is in the ground. It feels like the answer is so pure. It is just right where you're standing. And it feels to me that it makes it unbelievable. So sometimes you might be one of those very thoughtful, open, and clear people, and you could, with the innocence of a child, give a person who's suffering the simplest way forward or the simplest key. And quite often, those of us that can be that and are already doing that for other people will not notice how we treat it, and often not very well, because what is truly beautiful during this time is the simplicity and the down to earth approach and just humble keys that probably have been there for ages. Those humble, simple people, those humble, simple ways, those humble, simple logics, and those many things that we can now improve on massively just by doing the simplest tasks, just by embracing the simplicity of the best answer yet. And here we are, those people that are giving those keys, or those people that have those keys already and have understood them. And sometimes it is lowly, it's a lowly place to start. So, with the innocence of a child comes lowliness sometimes as a human who's very simplistic and who's very obvious and who's very there in the moment and just says, look at the simplest way to fix this situation can sometimes be feared. So, this is one of those very interesting things. We're slowly walking out of the dark ages here, in a sense. We're slowly embracing simplicity. We are starting to understand the ego of another, perhaps first, before we can fully place ourselves in the heart enough to realize our own. And the way that I'm kind of seeing it here is that many of us may suffer through either being in denial and this egoic game with drama, trauma, and such. And others can be in great torment for being at the simplest state or having this amazing, simplistic, simplified, purified experience or purified way in the world, and all of a sudden feeling shunned or feeling in despair for being too clean, maybe too open, too beautiful in a sense, or too hopeful. So there is a very interesting game with ideals. We already have actually Venus very dangerously, I would even say, close to the North Node. Um, there is something happening in the sky that I believe helps us feel that which needs to be felt intensely. And it is starting to take shape. Those realities that are formed now will inevitably perhaps start to warp and morph with us or walk with us. We have it, okay? There is a certainty. People have certainty. So this may be a person that you're going to know for the rest of your life. This may be a place that you're going to live for the rest of your life. It might be a job that you continue with for a very long time. This is permanent. We're in a fixed sign of Leo, okay? They're going to be permanences, permanent things that are going to have to be sustained, okay? They are very well things, and certainly there is a way to sustain them. So that has to be respected and understood straight away. There is someone or something else happening at the same time that is yet to contribute. So, this is a very simple thing. For example, you have found your best friend, you formed a pact, and suddenly you have a business together, or you have a greater mind together and a greater learning together. Like, that's an incredible feat. But by now, you can also see that there are other desires pushing you through. There is something in some people that is just pulling themselves out of their shell so much, but at the same time pushing through their chest, like, but I want greater things for myself and my people, but I want even more. Yeah, I know I have this house. Yeah, I know I've got the partner. Yeah, I've got all the things that I need, but I want even greater things. And sometimes during, especially the first part of Leo, it's very difficult to really know what that is. And sometimes it is love unexpressed. Sorry about the noises outside. Or it is like lack of conscious understanding of what it is that you really fully understand and desire. And sometimes it is like being at a smorgasbord table. You know, we like want what we wanted, like we are delighted and impressed with the array of gifts that we're presented, the abundance that we see. And often people will put too much on their plate and they get so zealous and excited and extroverted that they will bind themselves to much more than they can handle. So, this is one of those things. please at the beginning of Leo, please at the beginning as we are now, until about the 6th or the 5th, try to bind yourself to simplicity still. So like there is like a need to open up the wingspan, there's a need to really yell it out at the top of your lungs. Make sure you are not burdened though, because by this time there are many people that are having these types of ego problems or internal issues which pushes them to more, so including overeating, overstating, oversaying, oversharing, overbringing, overproducing. So this can also happen within. So overproduction of a certain substance, overproduction of a certain chemical, um, expressing extensive needs. Also to portray oneself as something or someone. So role play has already taken a huge part in this year. Here we understand on an unconscious level that during a rat year, we are treasured and we are treasures to someone or something. So we have to understand, yes, of course we want to be chosen, but please consider this. Once you are chosen in a certain format, it is hard to see you. So for example, saying to people now, as many people already have been for a couple of months, I am the global parent. I am the carer. I'm the funny one. I'm the talented one. I'm the one that will take you through. I'm the entrepreneur. I'm the gifted. So all of this has to be seen with a little bit of self-control for yourself and for the other. So whether or not you're one of those people, understand and please have empathy if there is an identity crisis that another person is having now. Also, because of this global phenomenon that we are under, quarantine, of course, for some people not so bad, for other people it is still very intense. Um, there is role play going on within us also, as we are now our own mother and father. Maybe we are locked away in a house, we don't have those roles that we have found so comforting and so easy to abide by. And also a lot of people have been sly about who they've been for such a long time. Like, yes, yes, I'm the banker. Yes, yes, I'm the mother. I just drop my kids off at the place, the daycare center, and job done. So there's like a lot of that going around in our cities, especially, in the metropolitan areas, when people are now faced with themselves and they have to really abide by certain rules and standards that they're now setting themselves. Maybe people are no longer the banker, no longer the perfect mother who drops her kids at the daycare center. Maybe they're no longer the perfect husband or wife. I mean, roles are going to start to change, and we also have to understand that with this incredible Saturn walking back eventually into Aquarius very, very soon, we have to understand that we got to know our roles and realize our face, realize our space, like who we are, what we're bringing to the table as a human, and not necessarily as a mask. The space of mask is over and the time of the human has come. Okay, so that's something that I believe this particular month of August is going to already start to bring up. And we are going into the very shady this year month of Virgo after Leo. Okay, so we have this kind of interesting way in which we have been using our masks and the way that we pretended to be with other people to keep us safe for so long. And why is because of the toxicity of the modern age and partially the system in which we have been operating. And here we have Virgo coming through and saying to us, no, because Virgo is a global healer, it's the herbalist, it's the specialist. It is the avatar for the age to some degree, in a big way, as also we really need Virgo now to help us find the truth and to really understand it all now. And here we have the time building up to Virgo and Leo as we are starting to no longer participate in certain role play. And for some people, it is hard. It is hard. I'm no longer the mother. I'm no longer the shining star. Like, I'm no longer the star student. I'm no longer the guest. I have to now speak my truths. And also, I trust that many of us are not going to know what that is. with this Mars balancing out Mercury here, especially at the beginning of the month and at the end of the month, we got Mars balancing out Venus and Cancer. It's a very, very interesting time. We don't sometimes know what the truth is until we go through our stuff. And here's me going back to the beginning of the video and talking about certain processes and patterns that we have created to generate a certain emotional chemical state of mind. And now we can't have that anymore. And here's where this is very exciting actually, but it's very hurtful for some. you know I'm not buying it. It's like, I don't want to any longer buy this. I don't want to buy this behavior. I don't want to buy this mainstream media. I don't want to buy these pants that I'm only wearing to impress my colleagues. I don't even have any colleagues anymore. I don't want to buy that. I'm not subscribing to this anymore. Like, I cannot force myself to identify or idealize certain things. So the practice of remembrance is done. This was then. Uh, Reoccurring methods of behavior, reoccurring methods of convention have to be broken. And we spoke about this in July, like this whole idea of being with it, what you have, what works for you, the identity had to be, in a sense, or has to still be, understood. Like, I like my coffee with cream, like, I just like my home. I love my partner, I love my job, I love my dog. Like, all of those very simplistic, mundane identities that we forget are sometimes the crux of a person's life. We had to embed and process through in July so that when September comes eventually, we don't need a lot of it. So it wasn't very straightforward, perhaps, what I said back then. So I'm going to try to explain this better. July, Cancer time, and June also were perfect times to realize what's the best, what's the classic, what's the ultimate, what you want, what you have. Also the mundane things that you have gained, what red has supplied you. You've been asking, 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 and now you got. Somebody else maybe got something that was seemingly meant for you. Like, what are the processes that you are undergoing now? As we are aging here through August, as we're really maturing our hearts and our souls, I believe, that are showing you that coffee with cream is not a big deal. Like, having a partner wasn't really all it was cracked up to be. The change of values, how much money you expect to see in your bank account, who cares? Who knows? Like, all of this stuff starts to scatter. And I also trust that one of the most beautiful things to embrace is not the nurture that red provides when you're feeling like you are full of things that you've ingested or found. It's not so much the idea of gain, it's actually more this particular time. And it's kind of hard to understand for the Western mind sometimes, for the modern mind, okay? You got given, and in a sense, the universe answered to your needs, okay, or answered to you already in Cancer, and has become one with you through you understanding that you're deliberately creating, and perhaps you've connected yourself to some really cool people, you just connected yourself to some really cool things. But this is where the best part happens, as I understand. You get to kind of sort of pull things apart a little bit, and a bunch of stuff that you have generated and a bunch of people that you have with you. And here's when you really know your truth and you can really face the most quantum state of inner self, and your inner maturity and your inner fire is seen through you needing less. So you don't like take it all on. And even though a lot of what we're given we've been asking for ages, a lot of it has been a long time coming, a lot of it is really, really legitimate. Here's like a very interesting kind of like almost like one step back, but at the same time, you're watching yourself change and shift and evolve as you are starting to become maybe a little bit more knowledgeable of yourself, and you ask, Does the situation really need me? Do I really want to experience this over and over again? Have I really got the guts to take this on? Is this sustainable? Okay. So, as with love, as with the energy that you're sharing with people and money and projects and everything, I would really love it, like for myself and my peers, my friends, whoever, to really take advantage of this time and go into your states of maybe bliss or states of self, states of peace, and try not to lie to yourself too much. Like not to give yourself so much that you can't handle. So you can now overeat, but should you? We're tested by abundance, maybe. You can have anybody in the room, but should you? You know, you can have a lot of money from this source, but can you? Should you? Would you later continue this relationship? Yes, you could now go on a shopping spree, but will you really enjoy and respect what you got? Will you carry this on later happily? Will you be happy in the situation for a long time coming? Would you want other people to also have these situations? Would you want your daughter or son to live through the situation? Can you see an eternity to what you're doing? Do you want this to stay forever? Is there a grace that you're achieving through this particular endeavor, through these emotional states or these ways of making money, these groups of people and such? Can you imagine yourself standing by your choice many decades from now or later in time? Can you see the futile, perhaps, for what it is? And can you now identify the strong and the idyllic and the realistic, which is hard to spot during this time? Can you understand what love and nature really is? Can you realize, can you fully tell it apart? Basically, can you smell the fake from the real? You know, can you taste, the raw natural states and the raw natural things in your life and the mixed and processed things in your life? Can you realize the husk from the grain, not just the husk from the grain, but what you would want to later enjoy, what you want to pass on to your children and your children's children? And can you now realize for yourself, or can you now perhaps accentuate which paths, portals, people, situations, emotional states, sequences, patterns just make you maybe feel a certain way? Maybe they tingle, maybe they give you pleasure, but that pleasure is not worth the trauma, maybe. Or like your body cannot take the chemicals in a certain substance, for example. There needs to be a reality check and a realization of the grandness of this time. I believe this is one of those portal times. So what I believe is we also have a Lion's Gate on the 8th, yeah. The time here, really, through this month, is like nurturing yourself and to a degree rewriting the script of your peers, okay? This is a time of the leader, okay? If you have an open heart, you've got to understand we are all a product of influence, okay? And we have now the heart and a deliberate concept, the force, and the justice to co-create much more than we know. And also, if we are open and if we are evolved enough, we are going to give codes to each other. And as a mycelium being one person in a sense, being one consciousness, we're not just giving these ideas to ourselves. We are not just separate beings living through a wild psychedelia. We're more than this. We are the mothers and fathers to ourselves. And at this point in time, we can undo so many sins and so many wrongs and so many habits, addictions, obsessions, juvenile and uncomfortable things, and awkward experiences that we are now able to see in plain sight. And also, we can be the author of many other people's lives in a sense through making ourselves feel more open to change and recognition of our current states. And also, ongoingly, I trust that which we choose now, which we discern now, which we rewrite and to some degree reprogram, maybe even 7 generations before and after ourselves, and also spreading the message far and wide to other people like us, we can commute with and we can help other people embody. So, for instance, if you have a new philosophy, if you're finally committed to your greater self, if you have now new methods of being, of breathing, of living, of caring, of eating, of homing, of just being, okay, you can at this point start to become one of the first people to perhaps influence another. Perhaps you're going to be one of the best people at this given time who is not so possessed with themselves that can actually be a mentor, a peer, a giver, a professional, a structural human who can perhaps help the evolution and involvement of a new person, a younger person, or just another human, just another person also on a path to self-forgiveness, to self-improvement, self-mastery, everything like that. You could be that person that aids the progress of another person when you fully start to soak up that freedom, when you fully start to soak in that knowledge, when you fully start to be open and telling yourself off no more, telling yourself up, not down. So you can really evolve here and you can evoke and involve yourself in bigger, larger, lighter, more pure, and more up and coming vibrations and up and coming ways, new frontiers, ways to walk out of years, generational trauma, everything like that. You can actually here walk through, you can rebirth and reunite with your greater selves now. And as you are becoming more open to these things, and also the fragility of your youth or your previous years or recent choices fades, you now maybe know that you are open and available, and the lion comes through. That lion that just knows you, and knows everything and just understands and realizes and holds space, and also with the minimal amount of damage, minimal involvement, minimal crisis, minimal issue, and minimal time cause change. So this is like on its own wheels. If you are in alignment basically, yeah, and you are feeling no longer inferior or superior, this or that, nothing's itching, nothing is pulling you, nothing is making you, nothing is working too hard, you may now already see as we come closer to the 26th of August, it just has its own wheels. It's like your presence is enough alone to cause a big change. Your essence is enough. You are enough. And whatever things that you've been through, they sometimes are not spoken of. Okay, so as one may go through tears and conflict and crisis, and they don't even have to speak about it, they are within a state of poison, and they are walking towards people and they are telling them everything, though they may not perhaps want to say it out loud. They're telling it, telling it, telling it, telling it. There is something there as well. Within that also is good. Within that also is a functionality and a natural resonance to a degree, as got its own way. But why not be the opposite? Why not force, but rather help yourself trust that there are greater visions and versions of you in your life. There is a better world, you know. Heaven is on the way. Okay? Love is here. Love is here. Okay? And then with the trust and the just openness, healing your heart through also knowing and really, really strongly associating with the fact that nobody else may see your process. Nobody may really want to know more about you and how you do your thing. Sorry about the noise outside. But this infinite feeling and this infinite grace of you realizing things and learning and the ability to emote within the lighter spectrums is a contagious, gorgeous path for all. You lead. You lead within your own spectrum. So, what type of leader are you? What type of leadership do you want to have? How are you affecting others? And what do you want to create with another? You know, how are you as a heart, as a whole? Who are you becoming through the process of self-evolution and the evolution of another via contact, via association, seen or not seen? How are you willing to or not willing to progress? Would you like to just stop everything and start again? Would you want to reach up high? Wouldn't you want to do that somehow? Can't you see there are bigger things now open? This door that I'm looking at, you know, this vision I'm seeing is so amazing that some of us may have a huge critical or blissful or just open change of heart. So I hope that you can take the greater path and cease all conflict and just walk in. And may grace be with you. May grace be within your heart during this time. So thank you, everyone. If you would like to know more about me, if you'd like to book a reading, there's a website at the bottom here. And also, if you would like to know more about your particular sign, stellium, astrological sign, moon sign, ascendant, please check out my Patreon page. I will have all 12 signs there very soon. So thank you very much. Enjoy, check out my books, check out my Facebook, check out my Instagram, check out just anything you like. And I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.